Hello, friends and family. Welcome back to the Invest AI podcast with Pop Buchanan, the author of the Invest AI book. And this episode is going to be one of my favorites because it's going to highlight a talk from Jim Cramer where he talks about the new, and I put in quotations, the new industrial revolution with tech stocks. This guy breaks it down so beautifully. And this is why we wrote and dropped and published the Invest AI book in February, because we were ahead of the game and we knew that this whole AI and technological revolution was going to explode. And we're talking about affecting everything we know about our life over the next 5 to 10 to 20 years. We have a long window to invest, and being on the end now is going to make a big difference. So if you're new to this podcast, please go get a copy of the Invest AI book. It's on Amazon. It's going to give you everything, especially if you're a beginner, but even if you're a seasoned investor. The Invest AI book it highlights a lot of aspects of the AI stock and AI tech markets. You know, we have cybersecurity stocks, AI stocks. We talk about robotics. We have the penny stocks. We have access to the top tech titans, the secondary tech titans. It's a really cool book that puts it all together and gives you a well-working knowledge, so you could go into an app like Robinhood and start to do your own research. So Mad Money dropped it today. I was so happy. Again, I'm posting this clip under fair use, educational purposes, just to highlight our greater mission and our greater voice surrounding AI. So with no further ado, here's Jim Cramer on his show, Mad Money, talking about the new industrial revolution with tech stocks. I'm your host, Pop Buchanan.
How big is AI? Look, this technological revolution is crossing all barriers, even potentially becoming the heart of our national security apparatus. So we'd be like ostriches with our heads in the sand if we don't address it here on Mad Money. I think it could potentially be the key to making the biggest amount of money over the next half decade that we can do. Not just the next week or next month or quarter, as the professional bubble bursters and all their negativity keep claiming. And they're all around me. It drives me crazy. So on a day when the averages regrouped after a couple of days of pain, the Dow advancing 76 points, S&P rising 0.51%, NASDAQ gaining 0.58%. Why don't we just spell out the stakes here so you know what I'm really thinking? First, one of the few tech stocks that's been able to hold its head up high this week is, of course, NVIDIA. That's because it has the cards, the graphic processing units, or GPU cards. These NVIDIA semis run much faster than anyone else's, with the sole exception of AMD, which is their only real competitor. By the way, the next generation of NVIDIA GPUs will far exceed what AMD currently has. Plus, it's learning software that make it the preferred thinking chip for generative AI. That really is the exceptional thing they've got going. NVIDIA stock has turned into a rocket ship precisely because it's already making so much money off these chips. Many would say that they almost have a monopoly on this category of the highest powered GPUs. We just don't know how long it'll take for someone else to play catch up. This monopoly is born from the years of blood, sweat, and tears shed by CEO Jensen Huang and his team, not for some short-term brainstorms that critics would have you believe. And now it's paying off in extraordinary ways. And believe me, I remember when he was in the wilderness, in the vineyards, no one else listening. Take yesterday. Just when you might have thought that NVIDIA was finally going to roll over with the rest of tech, the company presented a healthcare briefing. Healthcare, which reminded us that standard computing science is really only a small part of the NVIDIA universe. There's autos. Yes, NVIDIA's in the Tesla. There's factories, the so-called digital twin, trillions of dollars in business. There's banks, a vertical where fraud can be detected incredibly quickly by NVIDIA-led devices. Hey, there's sovereign AI. The end markets are practically limitless. And, of course, the biggest of all is inference, which now accounts for 40% of the company's business. 40%. What's inference? It's the computer equivalent of mind reading, the kind of mind reading that, say, Amazon does in order to figure out what you might want before you know what you would. When I first met Jensen Huang, he taught me about waste. That's the first thing he brought up. How his graphics cards need to burn less heat. He didn't want waste. He's already made them much more efficient at this point. But when you put thousands of these chips together, they drain an incredible amount of power and produce a ton of waste heat. Companies that use huge clusters of them need far more power than the grid makers ever imagined that we require in our slowing, de-industrializing society. No one thought that one new industry, the generative AI industry, could single-handedly drive up the needs for power by about 5% per year. That is gigantic, people, especially when you remember that the power generation business hadn't been growing in any appreciable way for decades. We've been moribund. But think about what's going on here. The immense computing power needed to run all these AI-enabled devices and the data centers and the machine stands at the heart of the current re-industrial revolution that we're undergoing in this country. The sheer amount of data center construction that's going on partially explains why Caterpillar stock has been such a horse in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. It's why an old-line industrial like Cramer Charitable Trust fave Eaton could reach the top of the list of companies with urgent demand for helping the ailing power grid handle all this excess electricity. It's why an outfit like Vertiv, Dave Cote, chairman, which makes specialized power, cooling, and IT infrastructure products for the data center, outperformed even the hottest stock in the S&P 500 last year. Too bad it wasn't a member. It would have been number one. Now, though, we're headed for the real battleground, people. These data centers aren't just data hogs. Their data needs to be parsed by software from a Salesforce, say, or summoned by a ServiceNow, and they have to be connected to the grid in places that have low energy costs. Oh, and for many, cheap energy isn't enough. It's got to be clean, too. See, right now there's a furious race among the power generation utilities to meet this new demand of clean power and phase out dirty coal. And that's why Constellation Energy, a nuclear company, the wind kicker, is up 54% this year. Get that, 54%. The big data players, Amazon, Microsoft, Alphabet, Meta, Apple, they want to be carbon neutral based on what the EPA calls Scope 3 emissions, meaning no emissions from their own assets and no emissions from the electric provider either. In other words, if utilities want their business, they need to go solar or go wind or go nuclear, and they definitely need to not have any coal. The result: a burst in renewable, sustained power that's producing some of the best winners of the moment. Like that outfit we had on the other night, Nextracker, with technology that helps make commercial solar panels more efficient. Look at this Eaton. I mentioned that one. Parker Hannifin, Cummins. Remember we went to see them? Holy cow. They are roaring for the same reason. All old-line industrials that have a hand in building this stuff. They were very visionary. Oh, and the reindustrialization of the Midwest, I got to tell you, we just don't talk enough about positives. But I try to change that in this show. Oh, okay, get this one. I spent some time talking with GE Vernova today. That's going to be the gold standard and win when it separates from General Electric the next couple of months. I know people are lukewarm about GE's power business and long considered the worst part of the company. But just as I became a believer and then a proselytizer for GE Healthcare for its best-in-show MRIs, we own it for the Child of Trust, I am coming around to GE Vernova as a major player thanks to this artificial intelligence fueled green energy build-out, and I like what they had to say to analysts. Still, these data centers have so much demand for power that the intermittent alternative energy plays, think wind and solar, can't handle it all. Nuclear is actually the only truly consistent source of clean power, but it's insanely difficult to build a new nuclear plant. Although Vernova did tell me today they're starting to see some success building the equivalent of a cookie-cutter kind of nukes in Canada, small form factor. So you end up needing natural gas, though, and the natural gas companies like Enbridge, which runs the largest network of natural gas transmission pipelines, and we have them on tonight, is buying into this. Enbridge is buying assets that will put them at the forefront of this bridge fuel. Nat gas is cleaner than coal and cheaper than anything other than coal. Not carbon-free, but better than letting the lights out or having the data centers go overseas. It's not just a battleground involving our own power grid. It's also about who owns the intellectual property. Right now, NVIDIA, and to a lesser extent AMD, make the GPUs that you need to run this technology. But they're all the designers. The actual capital equipment needed to make all this stuff involves outfits like Lam Research, Applied Materials, KLA, ASML, and, of course, most important, the Uber manufacturer that is Taiwan Semiconductor. So the chips are made in Taiwan. Taiwan Semi is terrific stock, but there are some other very tricky things at work here right now that we have to talk about. Our government's doing its level best to try to keep China from getting our latest and greatest. With the Commerce Department just directly telling the other day, AMD, those chips might be too good for China. The government, well, actually, they really think too fast, but the government says they need to dumb them down a little. Last year, NVIDIA was blocked from selling the Chinese its best chips because of national security. Remember, right now, you cannot do accelerated computing and generative AI without NVIDIA's chips, hence why its stock can have that valuation. How long can China stand by and do nothing if we own all the intellectual property behind these revolutionary technologies? Is it a chokehold on all their ambitions, or will they eventually just start making their own pirated knockoffs? Is it squelching visions of a stronger military using our own AI against us? Either way, it's all coming together for what I call our nation-state companies, formerly part of the broken band that was the Magnificent Seven. I bet if they can't get the system they want, by the way, the clean system, they might just build it themselves. So the bottom line here is this. The AI revolution is already producing some of the most investable themes of all time. We just need to look into the data center, peer into the cloud, and harvest these incredible ideas while being mindful of the geopolitical issues that could make this business vulnerable. If the Chinese just say, we can't afford to fall this far behind the U.S. as a military power. Zachary in New York. Zachary.
Jimmy Chill, thanks for all you do. You're the GOAT.
Whoa, GOAT. Like that. What's going on, man?
I'm calling about a company that pretty much has a monopoly on supplying EUV machines for semiconductors.
Okay.
I added to my position after fourth quarter earnings and after Jensen Huang spoke about the dependence on ASML for making advanced AI chips. With the stock closing at an all-time high today, what's your opinion on ASML? Is this one I should trade?
I will tell you, I am in awe of ASML. I know that a lot of people look at the chart and they think Supermicro, they think NVIDIA. I don't know what to say. They're just an unbelievably good company. By the way, their machines are the size of a city bus. I mean, these guys are they are rigorous. So I like this gentleman. Chillman says fine to Zach. Let's go to Eric in Michigan. Eric.
Jim, how you doing today?
Just having a dynamite day, Eric. I was incredibly productive.
Jim, let me just say, Monday through Friday at 6 p.m., I don't miss your shows. I thoroughly enjoy them, and we all are better investors because of you.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. See, I like this guy.
Well, I appreciate you as well. Jim, I'm calling on General Motors today. Here's a stock that has had sales have been through the roof for the last 2 years. They've announced a major share buyback. We know the cruise division's in the penalty box, but hopefully that's up and running this year. But yet it trades at a forward P of under 5. Is this stock going to ever go higher?
Okay, so look, Mary Barr is doing a terrific job. I mean, look, everyone's just afraid that one day that we're going to wake up and the Chinese autos are going to be here up from Mexico and it's going to be the end of GM. I don't think so. I think GM is a great company. I think it's a buy right here. I do wish I obviously wish they had a bigger yield. We own Ford for the Charitable Trust because we know that they're the hybrid king. But I want you to stick with General Motors. Okay, the AI revolution is already producing some of the most investable themes we have ever seen in our investing lives. We just need to peer into the cloud and harvest these incredible ideas. Mad Money tonight.